तो मैंने मौका मिल रहा हैगा इस जहाज़ के अंदर जाने ਲਈ जो कि कन्वेंशनल बॉम्बर न्यूक्लियर बॉम्बर ਸੀਗਾ सो ਆਪਾਂ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਆਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ और देखते मेरी खुशी ਦਾ ठिकाना मेरी खुशी तो ही ਤੁਸੀਂ देख सकते कि कितना मैं इंप्रेस हैगा लुक एट दैट एड्डा ਵੱਡਾ 4 जेट इंजन ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ और किसी टाइम ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ न्यूक्लियर बॉम्बर ਸੀਗਾ सो इस तरीके ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੌੜੀਆਂ ਤੋਂ
That's the naughty seat. Okay, it's just swivel round if you want to swivel round a bit.
Okay.
Okay. Somebody from 2 people from Brazil, 1 person from New Zealand.
इस वेले जहाज पे बैठा मैं
So, you know, we are totally international.
yeah
One of the nice things about doing this, we see people from, you know, all over
different
the
all
place
over the
and
world
yeah. All got the same sort of interest, or, you know.
yeah but a lot of people you know who have the similar interests obviously they'll travel wherever it is
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And my father was in Air Force
Right.
so it just fascinated me I lived
What did he fly?
no he was a weapon fitter trade he was a missile technician
Yeah.
so he was not a pilot
Oh, right, okay.
you know so they used to load unload the missile bombs and you know how the technology works
Yeah.
so that was the main part at that time
Yeah.
it's no more now really regret so you know that interest generates automatically when you're
Yeah.
always in the Air Force field
Yeah.
so it's like the base is separate than civilians
Yeah. Yeah.
so I used to fly single engine and gliders
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
so you
Not
know
crash.
yeah
Fly.
no, yeah I never crashed yeah
Okay.
I had my solo
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Okay. Right. A little bit of the history first of all. We'll go back to 1946, after the end of the Second World War.
can I record you
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
okay
We asked our American friends to supply us with atomic bombs, and they refused. Which politically was very difficult for the British because we had provided them with key information that made it possible. We had worked jointly with them on the Manhattan Project, so we were very disappointed. So the Labour government under Clem Attlee decided we'd have our own independent nuclear weapons, and one of the things that was decided on that we didn't have missile technology. And the only way we could deliver a big nuclear bomb over a long distance was within a manned aeroplane.
Okay.
And they put out 2 specifications for aircraft to carry the bombs. The reason why there was 2 was there was a great deal of scepticism that anybody could actually build a plane that can do what this can do. And the other aircraft in that category was the Victor. We had never made a delta-shaped aircraft before. We were world leaders in nuclear
Navy.
In jet engine technology. The scepticism was well founded. If you think that Avro, before they were making these, they were making Lancaster bombers, probably the most famous of our Second World War bombers. A Lancaster could just about get up to 22,500 feet. These can potentially go up to about 65,000 feet. A Lancaster with a tailwind might nearly get up to 300 miles an hour. This could cruise at 640 miles an hour. So it was a huge leap forward in technology. The original spec in 1946 only called for a crew of 4. This was one of the dumbest ideas of the 20th century. It was only going to be a single pilot. You can imagine single pilot flying a complex aircraft like this
Very
for
good.
maybe 7 or 8 hours
Yeah,
with people trying to shoot you down and all the
exactly.
other, you
Yeah.
know. That idea only lasted 2 months. They added a co-pilot, so it's now a crew of 5. Okay.
So 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So up front you've got the pilot, you've got the co-pilot. Okay. Now one thing you'll probably notice is that those 2 front seats are different to the 3 in the back.
Yeah.
those are ejector seats.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you needed to get out of the airplane quickly, roof will blow off and those seats will send you out. The only way out for the three in the back was the way we came in.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, the original spec in 1946, there weren't going to be any ejector seats. This is the only part of the aircraft that's pressurised.
Hmm.
Okay. The plan was they'd have explosive bolts around the bulkhead. So if you had an engine fire or you'd got hit, you could literally blow this front part of the plane away from the rest of it. Then parachutes would automatically deploy from the roof, and like a space capsule,
Yeah.
you'd float down to Earth on your big parachutes.
Okay.
And when you got to a nice safe height, you could open the door and
Yeah.
you could all go out safely.
Okay. That's.
But it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Yeah, because it's very
It was proving very expensive, it was proving very difficult, but probably more importantly, the nuclear bombs were starting to become available. The political situation with the Soviet Union was getting more and more tense, and I think they basically said, look, just give us the planes, we got the bombs, we need the planes. So it didn't go any further. Okay.
This is where you can. It's with a weapon.
It's just
It's a gun or something.
No,
so you
that's
can.
a camera down there. It's just an observation
Panel,
observation.
it's an observation panel, yeah.
Okay, so up front, you've got pilot, co-pilot. You've got fighter-style control columns, single-handed. You would normally expect a double-handed yoke in a big aircraft like this. Very sensitive. This aircraft is very manoeuvrable. It could outturn most fighter aircraft, even the size that it is. And that's because they were starting to develop powered flying controls.
Okay.
Up until this point, all the controls were, cables and wheels and pulleys. These were powered ones, made it very, very manoeuvrable. Okay. Apart from flying the plane, they're also the main engineers. They check everything was working properly, all the engines were working properly. One potentially big thing, particularly for the co-pilot, is keeping the plane balanced. The heaviest thing on the plane, particularly at takeoff, is the weight of the fuel. There's 14 fuel tanks. There's 7 in each wing. You can put another 3 in the bomb bay to increase the range. The weight of the fuel in the wings alone is 33,600 kilos, which is equivalent to 42,000 litres.
Wow.
So it takes an awful lot of fuel. That's why we can't afford the petrol. We can't take the
But
fuel.
is it still working?
Well,
It's decommissioned.
it's been here since January 1983.
Okay, so it's not working.
So no, it's not going to fly again.
How many bombs it can carry?
It can carry up to 21 1,000-pound bombs, but it was designed to carry just a single big nuclear bomb.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Right. The 3 in the back. You would be the air electronics officer, and your main job is to keep us safe. Okay. If the enemy's locked a radar signal on the aircraft, if we've been spotted, you can detect that.
Okay.
You can then use what was known as electronic countermeasures to jam the signal and hopefully make us disappear. Okay. There's a little unit there with 6 red buttons on
Yes.
and a switch that says war only. That was called Red Shrimp. It's only allowed to be switched on outside of UK airspace.
Oh.
If it was fired up, it could jam every radio, radar signal from here to London.
Oh, okay.
In its day, it was very, very powerful. The unit next to it is called Blue Diver. Again, that was electronic countermeasures, and that would work on VHF frequencies. We can't shoot back. We are totally unarmed. When they put the specification out, they wanted, they didn't want any gunners or any gun turrets on the aircraft. That would increase the weight, which would reduce the range, and it would also change all the nice smooth aerodynamics. So this plane is totally unarmed, can't shoot back.
Okay.
We can defend ourselves. Well, you can.
Yeah.
You can deploy hot phosphorus flares, which hopefully would defeat a heat-seeking missile. And you could also use what was known as chaff. Do you know what chaff is?
No.
No? It was originally invented, first used in 1942 by the RAF. It's very simple, really. Little strips of aluminium foil, like Baco foil, blown out the back. Like confetti, it forms a big cloud. Big aluminium cloud.
Like a flare.
Yeah, big aluminium cloud. The guidance system on the missile, hopefully it sees the big aluminium cloud and not the little aluminium aircraft flying away from it. Still very relevant.
Okay.
Okay, right. The man that sat in the middle, he was known as the nav plotter. He was the main navigator. Okay, he had a flight plan. You never flew directly to the target. Too predictable. You always did a diversionary route, confuse the enemy as to where you're going. My wife shops like that in Marks and Spencer's. We never go straight for what she wants. We always go all the way around. Okay. All women are like that. All women shop differently to men, don't they? We go straight for what we want. Yes.
I'm going straight for Taiwan. Sometimes.
Okay. Okay. A navigator in the Second World War would have to work out where he was from his instruments with a pencil and paper and a slide rule, no electronic calculators. We've moved on a bit since then. That piece of equipment there was known as a ground position indicator.
Okay.
That gave a very accurate reading as to where the plane was above the ground. Okay, that was particularly useful. One of the things that these planes used to use, drop was basically a guided missile. For the guided missile to work properly, it needed an accurate start point from where the navigation system worked, and you would use that to program the missile before you fired it. Okay, right, let's assume this man's done a reasonably good job and we've got to within 40 miles of the target. Okay, you would come into play. You were known as the nav radar. That's H2S radar, originally developed in the Second World War. It's ground facing, so it looks down. You would only switch that on right at the end of the mission, because obviously if you can spot their radars coming up, they can spot ours going down. Okay, so very much last minute. From an altitude of 50,000 feet, it gives a scan of the ground of about 186 miles radius, 300 kilometres radius. Okay, that's enough to see from Newcastle in the northeast down to the south coast in Cornwall. The 9-inch monitor reduced it to a third, 61 miles radius, 100k radius. Okay, the joystick, with the joystick you can move you've still got the big picture, you can move your view around. Okay, so even if he didn't do a particularly good job getting you to the target, you could find it with using that system. Okay, when you identified the target, you could lock that into the system. It then linked with an early analog computer, a bombing computer. It also linked with the autopilot, so the pilot can take his hands off. You can fly the plane to the point where you wanted to drop the bomb. Okay, and when you did, that black switch you were holding earlier, that, do you want to press it?
Is there a release now?
Yeah, just press it. Yeah. That's it, just press it. Right, you dropped the bomb, you've wiped out a city the size of Moscow and killed 500,000 people. Okay.
Well done.
That's why we call that the naughty chair.
Yeah, it is.
Very naughty. Yeah.
Oh, great,
Yeah.
That's cool. It's huge. And it's so complicated, but you know, when you get used to it, it's easy to fly. You know what exactly you're doing, so.
Yeah. And all of the units, they look as though they've just been pushed in, but that's because they can be taken out quickly and repaired and replaced and whatever.
There's a lifespan for every aircraft.
I mean, this
because
aircraft,
modernization happened, new technology shows up, and this was only designed to bomb. As you say, like, you know, it was not for defending. If we get attacked, you can't defend yourself. So it's a high mission priority. Go 65,000, you know, up feet, and then fly somewhere.
Generally speaking, they would be about 50 to 55, but it was capable of going much higher. And most fighter aircraft in that day couldn't fly that high. And it was faster than most fighter aircraft as well.
The purpose was just to drop a bomb and come back. That's it.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah. No, when you go on your